All right, we are now live. Welcome to the show, everyone. So I was in the grocery store last night looking for some last-minute Halloween candy, but as I stepped through the vestibule, I was assaulted by the scent of cinnamon pine cones and a towering model of the abominable snowman, all wrapped in tinsel with Rudolph nearby. This is too much, you guys. It's too early, and it gets earlier and earlier every single year. So we are going to complain about, discuss this very serious issue. Also, Democrats are choosing tricks over treats by continuing the Schumer shutdown, and now SNAP benefits are threatened. And more Democrat leaders have gone mask off on their support of blatantly socialist candidates, making us wonder if anyone is left who has not had their brain eaten in the Democratic Party. We are going to talk about all of this in a very spooky episode 517 of the In the Tank podcast.
And now we're out in the streets.
Yeah, get that out of here. That's the scariest thing on the show today. All right, so welcome to the In the Tank podcast. I am Linnea Lueken, your host. We also have, as usual, Jim Lakely, Vice President and Director of Communications at the Heartland Institute, Sam Karnick, Senior Fellow at the Heartland Institute, and Chris Talgo, Editorial Director and Socialism Research Fellow at the Heartland Institute. All right. So how are we doing this week, you guys? I wanted this episode to be Halloween themed because I love Halloween. So what are you guys doing tomorrow, if anything?
I'll be taking my nephew out trick-or-treating. Here's a picture of him. He's right there. That's my mom and my sister. And he's going to be Elmo. And my sister is going to be the Cookie Monster. And I have not decided exactly what I'm going to be yet. But I will be there.
I'm going to be going to a basketball game.
Hey, it could be pretty scary if you're depending on what happens in it, right?
Well, yes.
NBA game, it could be very scary.
It is an NBA game, and it's the Indiana Pacers, and they're 0-4 or something like that. So they're riddled with injuries, and it will be scary, yes.
Absolutely. Jim, what's up?
Hey, I got some guys. You know how you schedule somebody to come pick up junk at your house, and you say, hey, great, the 8 a.m. to noon window would be perfect for me because I have a podcast to do at noon. Certainly they'll come before noon. No, they came right now. So I may pop in and out of this pod for a few minutes in the beginning, but very happy to be here. And happy Halloween, everybody.
Absolutely. All right. Well, Jim, are you doing anything neat for Halloween tomorrow?
Well, I said happy Halloween to everybody. I've never really made a big deal about Halloween. That's not been a big thing for me. I'm sorry. I'm a big party pooper. I'm not against Halloween. I just have never I've never made a big deal about it since like maybe college or so, but nothing special. I will be here tomorrow to hand out the candy to the kiddies, but that's about it.
Yep. I'm also handing out candy in this area. They do not come to your door and ring the doorbell. Everybody sits around on their front driveway and grills out and stuff, which is really fun. So we're going to continue to do that. Anyway, you guys, before we get started, as always, if you want to support the show, you can go to heartland.org/inthetank and donate there. Please also click the thumbs up to like this video. You can do it right now. And remember that sharing it also helps us to break through some of YouTube's suppression, or even just leaving a comment helps us too. If you're an audio listener, you can help us out by leaving a nice review. And all right, well, we are going to get right into it then. We are going to take a look at our unhinged topic today. That drop represents me internally on this topic actually right now. So the topic here is Christmas in October, Christmas in September, Christmas in August. Who knows? There was a movie called Christmas in July, but that doesn't really count. Anyway, as I said at the beginning of this show, things are getting a little bit out of control here. That story was no exaggeration. Harris Teeter has a full-sized abominable snowman Rudolph display at its front entrance right now. Already the Halloween stuff has been pushed into a little corner. So what are we doing, you guys? I love Christmas, but this is too much. I came across an article that greatly enraged me, so I had to share it with all of you, and maybe you'll understand. It's called Why Retailers Should Display Christmas Merchandise Before Halloween. And he writes, why do retailers launch holiday promotions before the jack-o'-lanterns are carved? For the same reason back-to-school sales start midsummer. Savvy shoppers are always planning ahead. Most customers have a mental budget for the holidays. Decorations, gifts for the family, teachers in the office. The sooner those customers spend money earmarked for gift giving, the less they will spend at the traditional time to buy holiday gifts. That's why I refer to this time as the bitch and buy season. Customers may complain about seeing Christmas in September, but they still buy it so they won't miss out. Home decor shoppers want to see the full range before committing to a theme. They coordinate wreaths, table settings, and mantle displays. It's not impulse buying. The retailers who put merchandise out in October capture these customers while they're still in planning mode. The retailers who wait until November are competing for what's left in the budget after the mental list is already set. So, this writer goes on to suggest that people are shopping for Christmas stuff in October, September, maybe even earlier. I think he's a maniac. Or is he? So I want to pitch it to the panel to start here. Jim, do you feel compelled to buy Christmas stuff when you see it in stores in September?
No, I don't. And in fact, I watch, I'm a big Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I watch Steelers games and text my sister and nephew as we can converse while watching the game. And in our last, or two actually, Steelers games ago, so 2 weeks ago, I had texted to them, holy crap, seriously, Christmas commercials? I think it was an Old Navy one. And so that would have been, I don't know, October 10th or something. And that's just way too soon. I mean, this is old man yelling at clouds moment again for me. But, I'm old enough to remember where you wouldn't even see major Christmas promotions in stores until after Thanksgiving. And that, they call the Friday after Thanksgiving Black Friday because that's the day everybody, a lot of people go out and do the bulk of their Christmas shopping to kick off the Christmas season. And just like everything else that's good and right in this world, it's being ruined by modern society. And the idea of seeing a Christmas, it's not that, again, I'm like you, Linnea. I love Christmas. Christmas is great. The holiday season, basically starting from right now to the end of the year is a wonderful time of year for friends and family, and just, feeling thankful and grateful for the life that you have and the people that you have around you, and to celebrate those things. But we're going to be seeing Christmas commercials are just so mind-numbing to see them over and over and over again in everything you watch and everywhere you go, and to have them start 2 months or more before Christmas even gets here. I just sigh thinking I don't know if I can make it all the way through. And besides, the idea that, you need to start planning your Christmas shopping now. Most people are probably like me. They do the bulk of their Christmas shopping now on Amazon. And I know that my wife starts putting aside things that she thinks I would like in the summer and puts it in a basket to purchase later and all that stuff. So, I don't buy it, but hey, if it helps the economy, I guess I can get behind it.
Linnea, I've got a couple of thoughts on this. So first
yes,
of all,
please, Chris.
I've noticed that at the grocery store in particular, they are serving or they're putting out like Halloween pumpkin themed things in August. For me, I can't even think about having anything pumpkin themed or anything like that in summer. So now that it's finally in the 50s here in Chicago, now it feels good. But guess what? All that stuff is gone. And like you said, now they've got all the
Yep.
Christmas stuff out. So it's like the window for Halloween or like pumpkin-y type stuff is actually in like late August now. So yeah, I think that's really weird. I'm also really, really old school. So I don't even do my Christmas shopping until usually the day before, because that's how I really get into the season. So I can't even think about people going and buying Christmas decorations and even like planning at this point, because that means that they're basically forgetting Thanksgiving. And I'm one of those people that puts a big emphasis on Thanksgiving. I refuse to put any sort of Christmas stuff out or even think about it until after Thanksgiving. So I agree with you, Linnea. This stuff is just the window is moving up so much like earlier. Where are you going to start actually doing like Halloween stuff like midsummer now? Are we going to start like Christmas stuff in like early October? Like where does it end?
Last year, I needed, well, need is a strong word, but I wanted some extra Halloween decorations a few days before Halloween, and I always do that. I've kind of want to add stuff to my setup last minute, and there was no Halloween stuff anymore at Lowe's. 2 days before Halloween, 3 days before Halloween, and there was no more Halloween stuff at that labyrinth of women shopping, which is Home Goods.
I'll tell you one thing, Linnea, is if you go to those kinds of stores like the day of or after, then you get this stuff on huge discount. So that's how the savvy people do it.
Yeah, Walgreens, you can get all of your full-size skeletons for half off
Yep.
the day of Halloween. It's great stuff. But yeah, no, it's getting a little bit out of control. Sam, I don't know if you want to pick this.
I can sympathize with your problem that you can't get the very best things that you want at the end of the process there. However, this does not bother me at all. If people wanted to celebrate Christmas in March, I don't care. If they want to celebrate Halloween in February, whatever, it's fine with me. It just doesn't bother me at all. I mean, it's like really when you come down to it, these holidays are all commercial. They have nothing to do with the realities behind things or the spiritual beliefs that people have. That may be a pity, but it is what it is. And so it doesn't bother me if companies want to get a head start on other companies. That's fine with me. I don't care. And a big part of this is I don't pay attention to any of this stuff. So
Sam,
I'm reading Victorian novels,
Yeah.
Linnea, I got a question for you. So
Yes.
I'm one of those people that once the holiday is over, like literally the next day, I'm taking everything down. Are you one of those people that leaves your Christmas stuff up like into mid-January or?
No, it depends because you're supposed to leave. Here's the thing with Christmas, okay? You're not supposed to put your Christmas stuff up until like Advent is basically over. And then you're supposed to leave it up through January. That's the way it was traditionally, and that's the way that I try to do it. Sometimes I break and the tree goes up the day after Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's what I do. Hell yeah,
like
that's what I do.
Yeah, it's hard not to.
But the day after Christmas, that stuff is coming down.
Especially the last couple of years, and as things have become more and more commercialized, I have tried to observe a more traditional Advent and post-Christmas Day season. But yeah, I do try, and in our household when I was growing up, it was my dad's job. Sorry, Dad, I'm doing this to you in public, but to take the tree down after Christmas. And there was a year where he forgot or neglected to do so for so long that my mom actually decorated it for both Valentine's Day and President's Day. So that does happen.
I live in an apartment complex, and there are people who are already putting those Christmas lights and displays on their patios and stuff. And once again, I'm like, no, don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah. You have to hold off a little bit. But your point about you don't feel like eating anything pumpkin until it actually starts to cool down is so correct, Chris.
But then it's all gone.
Because they had all of the like apple cider and stuff out in August this year. I don't want apple cider, especially not hot apple cider, until you get a little bit of a chill in the air. But
I actually like that stuff, especially between Halloween and Thanksgiving. That's when I'm really in that kind of a mode. Then the Christmas typey stuff, then okay, after Thanksgiving, I'm okay with that. But this idea that we should be like drinking pumpkin spice lattes in like mid-August, not cool with me.
Yeah. I mean, pumpkin spice lattes, that is like the greatest thing Starbucks has ever done is the pumpkin spice latte. But then used to look forward to pumpkin spice season, maybe in late September. And I used to complain that it wasn't here yet. But yeah, having pumpkin spice season begin in mid-August when it's 95 degrees outside just isn't right.
As to Christmas, our family, I'm not permitted to put anything up before Thanksgiving. So that's out. I'm not only the anomaly in this group, I'm the anomaly in my own family. And we are to take it down on the day after Epiphany, which is the end of really the 12 days of Christmas. And we got to get those down. You get it out of there.
I know I'm jumping in this in and out, and I'm back good now. But the thing I think the thing that bothers us about it, maybe it was articulated when I was gone, it just kind of occurred to me now, is that when you mix all the holidays together, when Christmas begins before Halloween, and then that means it also exists during Thanksgiving, and then Christmas itself, of course. But what's great about these holidays is that they have distinct places on the calendar and in your life. And if you are getting Christmas mixed into Halloween already, you're not actually appreciating Halloween, and you're certainly not appreciating my favorite holiday, which is Thanksgiving. So no Christmas stuff goes up until, we start eating leftovers for Thanksgiving on the day after. That is the absolute earliest any Christmas stuff comes out, because I don't want, frankly, Christmas messing with my Thanksgiving, either in my brain or in my house.
I like your point, Jim, about following the actual calendar of holidays of the church. For example, tomorrow is Reformation Day, and my church celebrates that. Some don't. Maybe Jim's doesn't. But there is a schedule of holidays, and obviously the word holidays comes from holy days, and I think that's a really good point. For me, though, like I say, I don't pay any attention to what the commercial world does anyway, except in terms of the economic statistics on it and so forth. So it doesn't really matter to me. But I take your point, Jim. I really do.
Jim, I have a question. Is that wreath in your home behind you? Is that your Thanksgiving decoration or like Halloween fall decoration?
Fall decorations. That's for fall decorations.
Very, very
and
nice.
After Thanksgiving, that will be replaced with a Christmas wreath.
I like that. It's very subtle.
That's how it works around here.
All right, you guys. Well, if you or your spouse is buying an entirely new set of Williams-Sonoma Christmas table settings in September, you are going to want to make sure that you have secured at least some of your money in something that will hold its value a little bit longer, at least, than a tin of peppermint bark. So that is why we recommend silver and gold, but not just any silver and gold. A lot of people in the conservative, libertarian, and even just plain old prepper spaces will hit you guys with ads for buying precious metals. They're not wrong that they are a good investment, but you want to be careful about who you buy your metals from. At In the Tank, we trust Advisor Metals over all of those other guys, and that's because we know that the person running the place is absolutely the best of the best. A great friend of Liberty, Ira Bershatsky owns and is the managing member of Advisor Metals. He has decades of experience in precious metals and is the only person in physical precious metals industry who has the Commodities Futures Trading Commission federal registration. It's a very fancy title, but what does it mean for you? Well, it means everything Ira or a member of his team says to you has to be factual. So there's no sketchy sales pitch. Wow, I almost made it through that one without mealy mouthing it. Or bait and switch, you guys. Ira is held to the absolute highest ethical standards, and there's full transparency, which is way too lacking in other places nowadays. So if you do want to diversify your investment portfolio and your savings, if you're planning for retirement and are concerned about economic uncertainty, if you need a whole new dish set in September from Williams-Sonoma, if you want a tangible asset that is easy to buy and sell, you can secure your assets with a wide range of physical precious metals by getting in touch with our friend Ira at Advisor Metals. He will make it very easy for you. So please visit climaterealismshow.com/metals, and you can leave your information for Ira and get started with investing in precious metals and expand your current portfolio. Go to climaterealismshow.com/metals, and when you talk to Ira, make sure you let him know that we sent you. That helps us as you're helping your own financial future by diversifying with precious metals from Advisor Metals. Thank you very much. All right, you guys, we're going to move on to something that is not so good, and that is the Democrats are choosing tricks over treats. And that is from the Epoch Times. Senate Republicans reject bill to fund SNAP benefits during shutdown. But even though the title of that article sounds like we're blaming Republicans for this, we are not. Senate Republicans on Tuesday voted down a Democratic bill to fund the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, through the government shutdown. Tens of millions of Americans are staring down the prospect of going hungry beginning November 1st. Senate Republicans rejected a unanimous consent bid by Senator Ben Ray Lujan to keep the program funded. SNAP allows those with low to no income to buy food and beverages at grocery stores. Senate Majority Leader John Thune said that the bill to fund SNAP was a ruse by Democrats. He said the bill falls short. It doesn't pay for essential people and programs. So, Sam, I want to jump to you on this first. Democrats for weeks now have been refusing to sign what's called a clean resolution, which means one that just gets the funding for essential stuff done without adding a bunch of extra little policy provisions like healthcare for illegals, you know? So even the mainstream media is starting to turn on Democrats over this. Where are we at here, Sam?
Well, this is the extraordinary thing that it's being reported reasonably fairly that they want to make a big trade and say we'll give you now what would be 3 weeks worth of government for a couple of $1 trillion of extra spending. It's simply impossible and irrational. Now, of course, they're playing from their old playbook. You see, they're trying to use the food stamps and all these everything that comes up. They're using it as a crisis, and it's not working because the central premise that they have and that they keep trying to say is that somehow Trump is behind all this, that Trump is stopping your food stamps, Trump is stopping all the airplane flights that are being canceled and so forth, that Trump is doing all this. But it's obvious that that's not the case, that they could fix this in one day if they wanted to, and they refuse to do it. So it's, like I say, they're using their old-fashioned approach. It doesn't work anymore. It certainly doesn't work in this instance. It's probably going to be the longest of all time shutdown. And it's because Trump, not only himself and his team are on board with this, it's that the Republicans in Congress are finally showing a little backbone as well. So what's going to happen here is that this will play out for a while until the Democrats just finally recognize that they're losing more than they could possibly ever hope to gain by holding out, and then they will find a reason to pass the continuing resolution. I don't think they're going to get anything else. I think that it's going to be a CR.
When it comes to SNAP, one of the things that's happened over the past couple of decades is the sheer total number of people on it has risen, big time. A lot of those people don't really need those SNAP benefits, but the rules have been relaxed to allow so many people that can take advantage of the program. So I am not that concerned about these SNAP benefits actually running out. And I've already seen that a bunch of states are going to put forth their own programs to make sure that the truly needy are getting what they do need. And I also think that this problem could be solved with charity and food pantries and all sorts of stuff. So a lot of these food stamp programs are corrupt. A lot of them are being used and abused. And I would actually like to see the total number of Americans on the food stamp rolls decline dramatically.
Yeah, I saw and I think I sent it in the email before the show, a report from Newsmax, which said that the majority of people getting food stamps aren't even American citizens at this point, potentially. And recently, I also heard someone from, I think, the Manhattan Institute, kind of give this description where the concept of who counts as the deserving poor for these kinds of programs has dramatically changed over time. It used to be that the people we imagine are on food stamps were widows with children and people who are down and out and looking for work, but that doesn't seem to be really the case anymore. There are able-bodied men and women who are not looking for work who are on food stamps. So it's gotten a little bit out of control. At this point, should we even be funding SNAP?
During the Clinton years, they did pass some laws to make the eligibility requirements much more stringent, and you had to do things like you had to at least be looking for work or trying to be employed. Obama and then Biden really relaxed those rules, and that's why we've got so many people who don't deserve to be in this program on the program. So that like you said, that is a huge reason why this is costing so much money and is not sustainable.
Yeah, I don't know where Newsmax got their numbers from specifically, but I did see that they reported that 59% of known illegal aliens are collecting food stamps. That's just crazy.
Right. The big reason that there are so many people on food stamps is agricultural representatives, voters in the Congress. So in the Senate and the House, the ones who represent agricultural states want food stamps. They want it more than anyone else because it's just like Obamacare. Obamacare was for the insurance companies because what it did was mandate that everybody had to buy their product. I would love to be able to mandate that everybody watch In the Tank. It would probably be better than Obamacare. In fact, I know it would be. But that's the whole thing, is that these things are not for the so-called beneficiaries. The people who are benefiting from them are the people who are selling the products that are going to be bought by the people who are supposedly the beneficiaries with other people's money, with other taxpayers' money. And of course, taxpayers' money from, let's say, the year 2030, if the government still exists then. But yes, this is all about it's a scam from beginning to end. We shouldn't have this system. If people need help, now Chris made an important point. If people need help, there are people who want to help, not just people who have to pay taxes in order to help. So there are people who want to help. And if there are people who have needs that the rest of the society simply cannot or will not take care of, then potentially it makes sense for, let's say, state or local governments or community groups to step in. But that's way different from the federal government doing this. When they're doing this, this is all about making money for big donors, and it's rather shameful.
Sam, do you think it's also about buying votes, though, to some degree? Because
yes,
I do think
absolutely.
because I do think that Obama and Biden wanted to relax the rules because they wanted to get people addicted to government, get them on the dole, and then they become, theoretically at least, future voters for them.
Yes, but it doesn't really work, because you will get some voters that way, but you offend many others by what follows immediately after raising spending radically. Inflation.
Yeah. Well,
inflation. That's why Trump is president right now. Inflation.
Yeah, Sam, it's not just big ag that is, the beneficiary of this, and people in farm, senators and representatives from farm states wanting to keep or expand SNAP. It's also big cookie and big potato chip and big,
Right.
big
Yeah.
soda. Because, if there were restrictions on what you could purchase with your SNAP benefits, there would be a hue and cry over that. But I think most Americans would agree that it's the first word in the program is supplemental. It is not. It's to supplement and to make sure that kids are fed and that they're and ideally with nutritious food. And a lot of the SNAP benefits are going toward purchasing of junk food. That is known anecdotally, and there maybe it's been studies on it, but we all know that is happening. Second, the SNAP program exploded during COVID, and like most spending in the COVID, during the pandemic, that was supposed to be temporary. But as I think Ronald Reagan said, there's nothing more permanent than a temporary government program. And so you can go, if you have SNAP benefits, you can go on Amazon.com. They also own Whole Foods, and you can purchase all sorts of luxury food items. It even says it right there. SNAP EBT accepted for things like, charcuterie board. I saw a video with Matt Walsh where he was showing this on the screen. Things that normal people, that you should not be buying with food stamps, and yet there they are. They're food stamp eligible. So the entire thing is a scam. I mean, the entire thing is not a scam, but you kind of get where I'm going. America, for the longest time, has had the fattest poor people in the world, and we still have the fattest poor people in the world. They're so poor that they are obese, and a lot of that has to do with the SNAP benefits. It seems to me, since the election of 2024, there are things that are now politically possible that have not been politically possible in my lifetime. And I'm 55 years old. But especially because we've heard this for decades, Sam, you know this, Chris knows this, Linnea knows this, all of our listeners know this. There was that drive by Republicans that it would come out of their mouth like, you pull the string on their back, and waste, fraud, and abuse. We have to get rid of waste, fraud, and abuse. It never happens. And now we are seeing, thanks to projects like Doge and the election of Donald Trump, and now with the government shutdown, there are opportunities here to get these social welfare programs focused on what they are supposed to be doing, which is helping American citizens who are too poor to feed their families, to give them a little bit of help in a temporary basis till they get on their feet. Instead, SNAP benefits, which we used to call food stamps, which kind of had a stigma to it, is a way of life generationally for many families in this country. And that is not the intent of the program. The federal government, you and me, the taxpayers, should not be spending money to feed other people, because what really happens is that because they don't have to use their regular income, whether they have a low-paying job or certainly a bunch of side hustles, maybe getting cash for it, they don't have to use that on food. Now they can use that on other stuff, luxury items. When you see these videos of people doing TikTok videos that are on food stamps on their iPhone in their new car, it's like, why are you on food stamps? You have an iPhone and you're doing a video complaining about how your SNAP benefits are going to be cut. It's insane. Chris, you know this as well. It's kind of the same thing with the school lunch program, which, when I was a kid, yes, there were poor kids, lived in the trailer park down the street from me, and they got free lunch or subsidized lunches. And the other kids, their families made enough money where they pay for their own hot lunch every day. Now, basically, the school lunch program is for everybody, because you don't want to stigmatize a kid and his family by having a subsidized lunch. So everybody gets subsidized lunch. And now everybody gets subsidized breakfast.
And breakfast, exactly. I had to go and watch over that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so these programs, that's what's so great about this, the government shutdown. It's really exposing a lot of stuff, because we're talking about it on the podcast today. And a lot of people are talking about this with their families and with their friends, is that these programs, people just assumed they were to help the truly poor, to make sure that their children don't starve. And instead, these programs are enormously bloated. Majorities of illegal immigrants are getting their food paid for by us. Like you said, that Linnea, and Andy had it up there on the screen for a little bit. 45% of Afghanistan immigrants are on food stamps. 42% of Somali immigrants are on food stamps. I mean, that's not what the program should be used for. It should be used for, frankly, American citizens genuinely poor American citizens, and it should be to make sure that their families don't starve, not to make it so that they can use their disposable income on fun stuff and have the American taxpayer fill their pantries with cookies and soda and maybe occasionally a green bean. That's why Big Ag isn't really into this. It's more big grocery because it's wonderful subsidies for the big grocery chains like Kroger and Albertsons and all the others.
I think it's ridiculous that you can use EBT at Whole Foods. I mean, I can't afford to go to Whole Foods.
Yeah, right.
I think that a lot of that is people selling their EBT to others who will then use it at Whole Foods.
Look, charcuterie is a human right. And if you can't go to Whole Foods, then you are being literally oppressed by the government. All right. The post-millennial reported on some of the reactions. SNAP benefit users are threatening violence amid Gov shutdown. An account on X called EBT of TikTok has gone viral for compiling social media clips of users threatening violence and theft, like looting, amid the ongoing government shutdown, which is set to temporarily suspend SNAP benefits. The videos feature numerous users expressing anger and fear over the pause in federal food assistance, which supports more than 40 million Americans. Several have posted videos threatening to loot stores or steal food once the benefits stop. One woman declared it was time to start looting because the government took our stamps. So this is not good. Let's hope that this doesn't happen. I would hate, what is it? November 1st is on Saturday. So that's a weekend of fun for Chicago, isn't it, Jim?
Yeah.
Alrighty.
I want to know why the millionaire rapper Cardi B is out here saying that food stamp recipients are going to have to hunt raccoons and for that Thanksgiving dinner because of this kind of stuff. Yeah, it's really great to know that Cardi B is on the side of food stamp fraud.
Yeah, it's terrible.
And the raccoons. She's on the side of the raccoons.
Well, and I want to.
It's also degrading. It's also degrading
Yeah.
to people to say that they can't go get a job and afford their own groceries. I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah. This is a multi-generational problem when it comes to our government, and no people in our government are more to blame than those who are either socialist or socialist tangential or sympathizing, right? So that brings us to our third topic today, which is Night of the Democratic Socialists. I'm not sure when this particular shift happened. Maybe there were some experimented on monkeys that escaped containment at like Umbrella Corporation and bit a Democrat staffer during the Obama years. And slowly over time, everyone in the party was infected with this thing. They hid it for a while, even though we all suspected, and they have always had communist and socialist sympathies. But now it seems the Democrat Party has finally decided all together and all at once that actually they are socialists, they support socialists and socialism, and they aren't hiding it anymore behind any rhetoric. Issues and Insights posted this great article titled, "It's Official, the Democratic Party is now straight up socialist." And they write, when socialist Zoran Mamdani, I have such a hard time pronouncing his name, won the New York City mayoral primary, we said that the concern expressed by some Democrats was phony because they didn't want to admit just how far left their party had drifted. Now they've given up that pretense entirely. On Friday, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries endorsed socialist Mamdani, saying the 33-year-old trust fund baby has relentlessly focused on addressing the affordability crisis and explicitly committed to being a mayor for all New Yorkers. He's the most senior-ranking Democrat to do so, but he joins a list that already includes Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Kathy Hochul, New York Attorney General Letitia James. Party regulators were already on board with even Mamdani's most radical proposals. Think about what he has already proposed or supported: a year-long freeze on rent, $30 minimum wage, free bus service, city-owned grocery stores, defunding the police, and calling Israel's war in Gaza a genocide. Mainstream Democrats support every single one of these positions in one way or another. And I also came across another article that seemed to back this all up from the Post Millennial. Seattle's socialist mayoral candidate wants leftist media outlets to be state funded. Katie Wilson, who has been nicknamed Mini Mamdani, has raised concerns among critics about conflicts of interest in government overreach, this time over her plan to tax residents to subsidize media outlets that support her campaign and employ her. It's hard to believe. In a recent interview on the Mostly Economics podcast, Wilson promoted a proposal she calls News Notes, a taxpayer-funded voucher program that would give every Seattle resident $100 to donate to local media outlets to save failing outlets from the free market. To pay for it, she floated a new property tax, capital gains tax, or a digital ad tax. But the outlets she specifically named that should be beneficiaries, The Urbanist, Publicola, and South Seattle Emerald, are the same ones that routinely promote her political agenda. Many of them have endorsed her. Some have even paid her. Chris, this stuff isn't really news to us. The Democrats have supported socialists and socialist policies for decades and decades. But what now? What worries me the most is that they have supporters for all of this rot. And, I envision a future where the federal government bails out New York City and Seattle, subsidizing their looming failures here.
I've been thinking a lot about this recently. Why, in the past couple of years, have the Democratic Party made such a sudden shift to becoming socialist and really embracing the socialist message? And I got to go back to the education thing, because I think that this is 30 years, 40 years in the making of, these public schools have indoctrinated, they've brainwashed millions and millions of young Americans to thinking that socialism is actually a good thing. And I experienced this when I was teaching history and social studies in South Carolina and in Illinois, that several of the teachers, they wanted their students to believe that socialism was good, capitalism's bad. So I think the chickens are coming home to roost, and a lot of these young Americans are now adults, they're voting age adults. A lot of them are saying, well, I don't want free market capitalism, I want socialism. They don't understand what socialism is. When you ask them to define it, they cannot do it. So that's why I think this is, happening. And I think that the Republican Party went through a reckoning in 2015, and Donald Trump came in and he kind of reworked the Republican Party, and he changed the platform of the GOP, and it went less from what you would call country club Republicans and crony capitalism to caring about, the flyover country, the heartland, and those people, the forgotten people, the people who wanted to go and be able to work in a factory but can't do it anymore. I think that the Democrat Party has sort of done the same thing, but they've gone the opposite direction and saying, well, we just want to give these people things. And a lot of Americans are susceptible to that by saying, yeah, I want things. And the rich people, they have lots of money. I watched the Mamdani oligarchy tour with Bernie Sanders and Kathy Hochul and AOC. And when Kathy Hochul came up to the mic to introduce the crowd, thousands and thousands of people started chanting, tax the rich, tax the rich, tax the rich. New York City already taxes the rich. New York State already taxes the rich. You can't keep taxing the rich. Like Margaret Thatcher said, eventually you're going to run out of other people's money. And these people just don't understand that. They think that money just comes out of thin air and that the government can just print more and more of it. And then that will make you wealthy. And, a lot of this is the economic, miseducation that's been happening for many, many years. So I don't know. I think that the Democrat Party is going to have to deal with this. And maybe this is going to be a, 8-year cycle where they're going to maybe have to nominate an AOC. She's going to have to just, lose big time. And then they might finally learn their lesson. I thought they learned their lesson after they nominated Kamala, and Kamala was kind of going in the socialist light direction. They didn't learn their lesson. So I don't know what it's going to take, but I do think that, Zoran's probably going to win New York City, but that's not going to resonate in, several other places across this country, especially in, the flyover states. It might work in LA, it might work in California, but it's not going to work in, Kansas City. It's not going to work in Oklahoma. It's not going to work in Nebraska. Those are the people that actually, are the ones who built this country. Those are the people who are, producing our food, supply and everything. So these urban, elites, I think that they look down upon the hardworking Americans, and they think that that this this socialist rhetoric is going to resonate with them, and I really don't think it's going to.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, we already have a de facto state media, so I don't know what that Seattle socialist candidate up there is thinking. I mean, the legacy media's job for decades has been to promote promote Democrats and the Democratic agenda, and then smear, mischaracterize all positions of all people who oppose that agenda. That's been state media MO for literally decades. As for Mamdani, I mean, the people of New York are going to learn that you get what you get. And if you vote in a socialist like Mamdani, who is going to, as one of our commenters under here put it, if the buses are now going to be free, they're just going to be rolling homeless shelters and drug dens. So enjoy that. And the people of New York City, I was born in that city. I have a lot of family still live in the New York area. So there's a little bit of a personal interest in this for me. But if you're going to vote for socialism like that, then you deserve to get it shoved down your throats. And if it was constitutionally possible and I was Ron DeSantis, I would prevent the immigration of New Yorkers into my state of Florida. As another commenter here put it, that Zoran Mamdani is the state of Florida's Realtor of the Year because people are going to be fleeing New York City this year. But look, in New York, you have neighborhoods like Chinatown and Little Italy. Well, all 5 boroughs now are going to be called Little Venezuela. The whole city is going to be Little Venezuela. I'm going to enjoy looking at it that way and seeing how it works out. And it's going to work out terribly. But as our friends there at Issues and Insights pointed out in their piece, this is the Democratic Party now. And we should actually be encouraged by this, as troubling as it may seem. We see surveys all the time. The Heartland Institute has a whole project in our Emerging Issues Center, basically keeping our fingers on the pulse of socialism and the socialist movement. And we thought it was kind of in a coma for a couple of years there, and now it's coming roaring back to life. So we're going to be covering this phenomenon in this country quite closely for the foreseeable future. And, as surveys say that young people are more attracted to socialism and more critical of capitalism, that's because they're young and stupid, and they don't have the experience or the historical knowledge to understand where this road leads. But overall, among the public, the Democrats are making themselves more of a minority party by embracing fully now the socialism represented by Zoran Mamdani. And it's not going to be an agenda that's going to win the presidency back in 2028. It just isn't. If their nominee is like a little Mamdani himself, or Gavin Newsom, who's a slimy, slick snake oil salesman who has who has anti-charisma to most normal human beings, and if he pushes this agenda, it is not going to win anybody the White House. So it's certainly not going to win him back Congress either. So Democrats embracing this is actually good if you oppose that agenda, because it's going to prove to be a loser. But the Democrats are stuck because they're the screaming Trump is Hitler party and the Socialist Party. Good luck selling that in Ohio and Arizona and Michigan, and let alone Florida and other places across this country. It's a loser.
Yeah,
I think what you're identifying is interesting because, yes, of course, the Democrat Party has moved to the left, but I think there's a reason for it. You look at California; they had a Republican governor, just a few years ago, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Not much of a Republican, I know, but he was a Republican. But then they went very, very hard to the left under the following Democratic administrations, and what happened? The policies led to people leaving California. So California becomes a farther and farther left place. So what's happened to and you look at Illinois, people are leaving Illinois. It's not the socialists that are leaving Illinois. It's people, the productive people who are just tired of being leached off of. The same goes for New York City. It's going to happen in Washington State as well. So what happens is you drive out the people that are being exploited, quite frankly. And that's what's happened in the Democrat Party. Is what's left is just farther and farther left wing. So anybody who has any kind of good mind, really, has any kind of thought about consequences down the road of political decisions, is leaving that party. And so it becomes more and more radical because what's left is just the more radical fringe. So just as people left California to go to Texas and Florida and Tennessee and places like that, and also you look at Arizona and Nevada, places like that were used to be strongly Republican. They're less Republican now. They're purple states because people from California are moving into those states. So what you're getting is you're getting a sorting. And the sorting is not only demographic across the country, it's also within the political parties. So what's happening to the Democrat Party is what's happening to those states. And I think we're going to see more of it until the Democrat Party is depopulated, and then they realize, well, this isn't going to work.
Yeah, my concern here is that I think it's a lot more threatening than just like, well, all the sane people are just going to leave. Well, look what happened during communism's rise in Russia. It wasn't just the sane people that left Russia. The upper class that still supported communism also left Russia. They went and they spread communism in Paris and in Berlin. I think that is what is going to happen. You are going to get socialists from New York who have the money to leave, leaving the chaos of New York to Florida, to South Carolina, to North Carolina, Myrtle Beach, all those like nice places that are cheaper to live and that aren't crazy. And they are going to invest and they are going to try to promote their policies there as well. Because just like the old communists of the Soviet Union, they will never, ever, ever admit that communism is what failed. They will insist that it is wreckers from outside of the party that make it fail. They will never admit that it's their policies that are doing it. I think that places like New York and Los Angeles, maybe Portland, probably not though. No, just kidding. All of the great cities of the United States are worth saving. And it actually is like everyone's cultural heritage. And that even if you don't live there, you should care about what happens to them. It's heartbreaking. I think it would be a genuine cultural loss to see a place like New York descend into even worse chaos than it's already in.
It's going to look, if they keep in this direction, it's going to look more like Detroit. And sorry, that's it. That's going to happen. And whether we like it or not, whether we think that, well, we're losing so many good things by losing New York, doesn't matter. It's going, and we have to deal with it. We're not going to be able to reclaim New York.
With the rise of technology, though, cities I don't think are as important as they were. Now people can work remotely. Now people don't have to go to the city and go to the building and all that kind of stuff. So we are seeing a decline in these cities. We're seeing in the office buildings, a lot of those buildings now are vacant. So it would actually behoove these cities to say, we want to make them attractive for people to come live in. And Zoran Mamdani is right. There is an affordability crisis in New York City. There's an affordability crisis in Chicago. And that's because they've been run by Democrats, generally speaking, for almost 100 years. And they have, just layered tax upon tax and regulation upon regulation. And the people who can survive that are the wealthy people. And they can actually go and move into the suburbs. They can go move to New Jersey or wherever. But it's the people who are stuck who have to pay the price of this. And sadly, some of them are going to vote for Zoran Mamdani. But also, in this mayoral race, New York City's population, only a very, very small percentage is going to vote for this. And that's sad to me because, if so many New Yorkers would rise up and say, you know what, this is not the direction that we want to go in, Zoran Mamdani could be easily defeated. But for apathy and for many other reasons, they are not going to. And Zoran Mamdani is likely going to be the next mayor of New York City. One thing that he's probably not going to be able to do is just, with the snap of a finger, raise taxes. He's going to need the city council to do that. Some of this stuff can only be done at the state level. So a lot of the stuff he's promising, he actually cannot deliver.
Yeah, one other thing to remember. I don't know how long we're going to keep hitting on this topic, but as you might expect, this New York City has an enormous immigrant population and always have. I mean, it's Ellis Island is there. My family came in through New York. That's why I was born there. My family came from Ireland. Both sides of the family from Ireland. Very poor rural area of Ireland to New York City in the early 1920s, and we've spread out from there. But I wish I could have pulled it up because it only occurred to me now. But as you would expect, the immigrant population of New York City has gone up and down over the years. It was very high in the late 19th century. It was still pretty high, very high in the early 20th century. There was a little bit of a lull where the majority of New Yorkers were American born, and so they grew up ostensibly with American values and taught about the unique situation politically and culturally that we have here in this country, the United States. But the immigrant population in New York City has now continued to rise over the last 2 decades, to the point that it should not really be that surprising that people who were not born here and who may have come from countries that are pretty crappy and did not value freedom, value other things, and maybe even from socialist countries, are now living in New York City, again, not born there, born somewhere else, that they would vote for somebody and support somebody like a Zoran Mamdani. And if you look at his campaign and things he's talking about, it is very much exploiting that so many of the voters that he is collecting do not have, who have not grown up in the American experience and do not value the things that we're talking about on this podcast. I mean, I'm not trying to make it, you could make a value judgment about that, but even putting a value judgment aside, it is not surprising that people who were not born here and brought up to keep inside those American values of freedom and capitalism and all, and pluralism would support something like this. So that's why, again, I don't think this, if they're going to continue with this message, it's going to fail, because across the country, the majority of us were born and raised in the United States and have that American way in our blood, and socialism is antithesis to that.
Jim, that's a really interesting point. And I've been thinking about that for a long time too. So the idea of the melting pot, I think, is disintegrating before our very eyes. I mean, my mom came here from Germany when she was a little girl. Her parents made it, very important. You're going to learn the language. You're going to learn the customs. You can still have pride in your home country. We can go back and visit there every once in a while, but you're an American. Now, when I see, these protesters at the Broadview ICE Detention Center, I see them waving so many other countries' flags and burning the American flag. So this anti-Americanism is another big thing. And this notion that these people came here because this is a land of opportunity, and then they, thumb their nose and just, just treat us like we're dirt. That has got to stop. And I do think that does require a little bit of like a judgment call on that, where, yeah, of course they're allowed to do that. Of course you're allowed to have, any flag you want. You can be, a dual citizen and do all that stuff. But what about just respecting the country that you are currently living in?
I'm trying to pull up the numbers here because, Jim, I think I know what you're talking about, because I've also seen that. Okay, so this comes from a Daily Caller. I'm sorry, Andy, you might not be able to find the article, but a Daily Caller article called "Foreign-Born Voters Likely to Hand Socialist Zoran Mamdani Key to New York City Polling Shows." So a recent survey conducted by Patriot Polling of registered voters, Mamdani holds 62% support among foreign-born voters, with Cuomo at 24% and Sliwa at 12%. In contrast, among American-born city voters, Cuomo leads with 40% support. Mamdani has 31%, and Sliwa holds 25%. So, yeah, that's bleak. Oh, yeah. Nice job, Andy, finding it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't even see that story. I saw a post on Twitter that just all it talked about was the foreign-born population of New York City going up and down over the last 100 years or so. But yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I got a question. So, who do you guys think is going to win the mayoral race in New York City?
I mean, Mamdani. It's got to be Mamdani. I mean, Yeah, it's going to be. I mean, they basically decided it since the moment he announced his candidacy.
They're trying to say that the polls are closing and that Cuomo is making this last minute run and that that he has a chance. I don't think so. I think that
Yeah,
Mamdani is going to win fairly easily, actually.
I was in Midtown the
Cuomo,
last week, and I saw one sticker on some wall somewhere that said like "Save New York, vote Cuomo," but the rest of it was all Mamdani stuff. So
Well,
yeah,
the demographics speak for themselves. The majority, there are not enough New Yorkers who remember and love New York the way it used to be that are going to be voting in this election. The majority of, he's going to get an enormous amount of support from people who don't know that New York, who don't know what to save. They just got there. And
Yeah.
so
Cuomo has run a
just not gonna
terrible
happen.
Cuomo has run a terrible campaign, in my view. He has failed to make the contrast between New Yorks of the past, which is exactly what you brought up, Jim. New York under Rudy Giuliani and then under Bloomberg was very, very different from the New York under David Dinkins, which was an absolute, well, I think the current president might have a good word to describe it. And it was just an absolutely horrible place. And Cuomo could have told that story, but he's too committed to big government himself. He's the one who put old people into nursing homes during COVID and killed them. I mean, this is frankly a dumb person, in my view.
New Yorkers should be
a terrible campaign.
They should be concerned that if he does win, that Wall Street and some of these big financial firms are going to say, we're out of here. So they should not just take it for granted that Wall Street is going to be in New York City forever. We've seen that Mercantile Exchange and other trading places move because they say, no, we don't want to deal with all the regulations, the taxes, and we don't want to be in a place that actually doesn't want us to be here.
Well, remember that New York is full of immigrants. So if Wall Street, if the stock exchange left, for example, and a lot of big companies left, life there would still be way better than the places they came from.
Yeah.
So they're not worried about that. They don't care whether Wall Street stays, whether Wall Street survives or thrives. They don't care about that. They're doing well, and they get free things.
And this ties into our discussion about SNAP. How many immigrants are on the public dole? Lots and lots and lots of them, and including obviously millions in New York City.
Yeah. I will say one of the things that I noticed there, which is something I've noticed also in Washington, D.C., is that there's an entire recent immigrant underclass in New York. And I don't know if that's always been the case, but every Uber and taxi driver, none of them speak English, which is crazy, or speak English very well, which is crazy. They're all recent immigrants. Everyone who's a waiter, restaurant staff, any kind of thing like that, it's all recent immigrants, all of them. And it's a very weird feeling. I wanted to say too that there's someone who said something a couple of years ago, back in, it might have even been as far back as 2017, who I heard, and I don't remember who it was, but they predicted that the Democrats were going to become full mask off socialist communist in the next couple of years, because here you have Cuomo, for example, who offers pretty much more or less all the same stuff that Mamdani does, but a pale version of it. If you're going to support Cuomo for his socialist policies, for his big government policies, why would you settle for milquetoast versions of those policies when you can have the full-on real thing with Mamdani, right? Why would anyone make that choice?
Linnea, two things on that. So a lot of people are saying that Curtis Sliwa should drop out because then those voters will go to Cuomo, but that's not going to happen because those voters do not support Cuomo's positions on these issues. And one other thing that really just kind of doesn't really, I have a little bit of a trouble of trouble understanding is New Yorkers, by and large, are saying that crime is still a very big problem in their city. They say that the subway is, rife with crime. Zohran Mamdani wants to basically undo all the progress that's been made under Adams. So Adams, I find it also kind of strange that Adams, the sitting mayor, basically bowed out like months and months and months ago, thinking that, okay, fine, Cuomo will, emerge. That never happened. And Zohran Mamdani, I think is looking like a shoo-in at this point.
Yeah, I can't believe we're sitting here hoping and praying that you're, first of all, defending Eric Adams and hoping and praying that a complete dirtbag like Cuomo somehow pulls it out. But yeah, I mean, Sam Karnick, I'll use the term. People forget what a shithole New York City was. I mean, I was born there in 1970. Mayor Ed Koch, he was beloved, by everybody pretty much. He was kind of a local celebrity. He was even on the Muppet Show or Muppet movie, I think, actually. But New York was that was the time when movies like Death Wish would come out and vigilante movies, right? Death Wish, that was with Charles Bronson, right? And
Yes.
the vigilante Bernie Getz, that was in the 1970s. But in the 1970s, New York City was a pretty rough place, and it was crime-ridden, graffiti everywhere. And then David Dinkins, people kind of forget about him. Most memorable thing about Mayor David Dinkins is how much he loved tennis. I do too, but he would be at the U.S. Open all the time while his city was going to shit. And then some guy named Rudy Giuliani, who was former prosecutor in the Southern District of New York, decided to run for mayor and won. And he did not care what people said about him. He was a racist. He was terrible. He can't implement these policies. He did them anyway. The whole broken windows theory. He cleaned the graffiti off of the subways. If you look at if you were alive and paying attention to pop culture in the 1990s, and you watched videos, and you watched movies from the 1970s that were filmed on location in New York, you'd see those trains going by, full of graffiti. In fact, yeah, in the 80s too. I'm thinking of the movie Trading Places. I think there's a scene in the subway and these trains going by just covered in graffiti, ugly as hell. And it created this sense of chaos that was hard to shake if you lived in New York City at the time. Rudy Giuliani cleaned all that up. He said, we don't have to live this way, and made New York City the biggest, the safest big city in the world, and really helped New York City get back to its era, into a new era of greatness. And the people of New York City have thrown all of that away. Starting with, at least Bloomberg kind of kept the city clean and safe. But, these things happen, and New York City makes these choices on their own. And maybe another Rudy Giuliani will come along one day. It's not going to be in this decade.
I think I've also heard a lot of people having trouble fathoming that New York City, which was the site of the 9/11 attack not that long ago, is supporting someone who is very much against Israel and very much pro-Palestine and has some really, big skeletons in the closet in terms of all that kind of stuff.
It's craziness, you guys. I don't know if you have any more that you wanted to put in on this, Sam, or if you've said your piece here. You've pulled the gym.
I would like to point out that Ed Koch was considered to be a centrist, but he was very much to the left of anybody at the time. And Mario Cuomo, who is President Cuomo's father, was a very, very left-wing governor in New York. And so this is a progression that you see how far left the party keeps moving, and how far left the city keeps moving. And the progression from Koch to Dinkins was probably analogous to the move from, say, Bloomberg, who was not a conservative by any means, to Adams, and now probably Mamdani. That's where it goes. That's where New York's going. That they do this regularly. That they follow things up and then they change back a little bit. But then the socialist ratchet always ensures that you're farther along to the left when the process is completed in that particular cycle. So it's bad, and it's going to get worse. And I'm sorry, but I'm shorting New York.
Good call.
Yeah. Well, you guys, as the vice president said recently, even though things are bleak, do not despair. Despair is a sin. Don't do it. It's things will get better. They might have to get worse first, but they will get better. And I do think so. I don't think that we're gonna utterly lose all of our cities forever. So, all right, you guys, we are going to close this off. We have a couple minutes that we can goof off with this fun note that I wanted to end on. So we didn't have to end it on the the Democrat socialist apocalypse there. So tomorrow is Halloween, one of my favorite holidays, followed, it follows only Christmas and Easter for me. In honor of that, we have made this entire episode a little bit of a spooky theme. And so to finish it off, we are going to answer these very important questions. The first is, what is the best Halloween or just scary movie? And the second question is, what is the best Halloween themed or scary book? Starting with movies, you guys, we are going to see who is correct and who is incorrect on these topics. Jim, I'm going to start with you. What is the best Halloween or scary movie?
I've actually never really been into the horror genre my whole life, although I'm getting into it a little bit now, more so, and it's because of the movie Hereditary, which came out a few years ago, starring Toni Collette and Gavin or Byrne. I forget his first name. Anyway, doesn't matter who stars in it. The movie is fantastic. It is not so much scary as it is unsettling. And it's so well written and plotted out and acted that Hereditary, I just heard so many good things about it for years. And, I was like, hey, eventually I'll get around to watching that movie. But I didn't make a rush about it because I wasn't into horror. It is actually one of the best movies I've seen in the last decade, bar none. In fact, it's very rewatchable. And I actually watched the movie. Then I probably watched 8 hours of explainer videos on it on YouTube, talking about it, digging really deep into the lore that they're talking about. It was fascinating. So then I went back and watched it again. I'm like, aha, that's right. There's so many little bits of foreshadowing that you do not see. And as the plot unfolds, it just becomes, again, horrifying in the literal sense. And it's just very unsettling. And I liked my feeling of unsettledness while watching it after watching that movie. So I cannot recommend Hereditary more.
All right, Chris, movie.
I got a couple. So
Okay,
both of these do go back to my childhood. So when I was a kid, I did watch Nightmare on Elm Street, and it freaked me out. And I'm pretty sure I had a bunch of nightmares. And then I did dress up as Freddy Krueger, probably, I don't know, like 4th or 5th grade. I had the little glove and everything, and my face, scarred up and everything. So that one just really stuck with me. And whenever I do see it on AMC or TBS, whatever, I can't help myself to watch it. Now, I have watched some of the sequels, and it kind of went into a pretty weird direction. There's one where he's in a video game, which is pretty weird. But the original, I think, is great. And 2 others I got to mention. Please, people, don't laugh at me, but I do enjoy watching Hocus Pocus. I'm sorry, but I grew up in that movie. I was a kid. I was 11 years old. It came out in 1994. And I don't care, Jim. I don't care when it's on the Disney Channel.
Bravo.
I still watch it.
Hocus
Okay.
Pocus.
I'm gonna put that out there. Okay. Lastly, when I was probably in my late teens, early 20s, and we took, Halloween very seriously in college, I was really in a scary movie. And that is a really funny movie. It has some good sequels as well. And if you just want a good laugh, back in those days, this was, I'm kind of guessing maybe 98 or 99 or something like that. Comedies were actually funny. You could make fun of things that you can't say now. And that, to me, is something that I dearly miss. So every once in a while, at least once a year, I'll probably go and maybe go on Amazon Prime and rent it for $1.99 just to get all those crude, lowbrow jokes. They're hilarious. And then one last one. It's not a book. It's a TV show. South Park has some great Halloween specials. The new season is terrible. It is just awful. I'm watching it and I can't stand it. But some of their Halloween specials, especially from years and years and years ago, are just flat out hilarious. Those are my big big three.
Sam, what have you got for movies?
Well, I would say the two best are probably, in my view, The Exorcist and Rosemary's Baby. And they're very different in the way they approach their subject matter, but I think they're both absolutely brilliant. And it's interesting that they're from the late 60s and mid 70s, when the technology of film was really high. The freedom that directors were given was really great, and the studios were willing to take chances on people who had really strong artistic ideas. But the one that I want to recommend people to watch is called Curse of the Demon. And it's from the 1950s, and it stars Dana Andrews, an old-timey actor that probably no one here knows about. But it's about a scientist who is very strongly materialist. And he in fact, goes around the world telling people there's no God, there's no supernatural, there's just atoms and energy. That's the entire universe. And he runs into a character who's very much like the occultist Aleister Crowley. And in this interaction between the two, something happens that leads to what seems to be a curse, a satanic curse, in fact. And it's a really fascinating film, very interesting, and it's full of energy and thought. It's a very good movie, Curse of the Demon.
Excellent. Well, I'm a huge sucker for zombie stuff. I was not tired of the zombies when every movie was a zombies movie around like 2011, 2012. I think those are super fun. However, I think one of the best kind of semi-recent horror movies that's a kind of classic spooky Halloweenish kind of one was The Wolfman from 2010. That was with, I have the IMDb page here.
Benicio del Toro.
Simon Morales. Yep, it's Del Toro. And that was awesome. Such a good coverage of a werewolf story. I also really enjoy another werewolf movie, which is American Werewolf in London, which is terrific. And I love everything that spun off from that. Yeah, those might be my two favorite, other than Hocus Pocus. Hocus Pocus is a much watch every year. I will be watching.
I liked it too. I took my son to
wonderful.
see it.
Yeah.
Now, I am not about the sequel, have never watched the sequel, want nothing to do with the sequel, because I want to just remember them as they were in those years. I think a couple of years ago, I did go in IMDb, some of the characters, and I was like, oh, I saw them, what they look like now. Oh no.
Yeah.
Sorry, but
Did either of you like The Witches, which was based on a Roald Dahl novel?
I don't think I saw it.
Oh, well, that was a very good one. Angelica Houston is in it as one of the title characters.
Yeah.
And it's from that same era as Hocus Pocus.
It kind of seems like, and someone else, and Bob Johnson just mentioned The Substance, which I haven't seen yet, but I heard that it was fairly good. It seems like horror, can either be a very well done artistic film or utter trash, and there's really not very much in between. It's kind of one or the other, and that's why I enjoy it very much. I even enjoy some of the total trash, like the Paranormal Activity movies were garbage, and I watched all of them. Anyway, I enjoyed them.
Can I just add two more quick ones?
Yes.
The Witch by Robert Eggers. Absolutely brilliant film. Gosh, I forgot. Yes. I can't believe I forgot about that one.
Hard to watch if you're not a subtitles person, because it's in old English, and it's very difficult to listen to sometimes.
Yeah, definitely got to have the captions on. But yeah, it's so authentic. The dialogue is from the late 1600s as it was spoken in the New World. And also Cabin in the Woods, which Andy, producer, reminded me of by Joss Whedon. Fantastic. Talk about comedy. I mean, it's a comedy, but it's just a brilliant take on the whole slasher movie tropes.
Yeah.
I'll add one more
twist in it. It's fantastic. Highly recommend that movie.
I'll add one more. Midsommar. That is a fantastic movie.
I still haven't watched it because I'm too scared to watch it.
Yeah.
it's really good. And I don't like gory or very explicit movies very much, but that one, it's really not. It's more in the mind. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, and this one's going to be a free-for-all. If you've ever, and I'm not sure if you guys have done much, horror reading, like books and stuff. Oh, I just remembered another movie. The Thing is maybe one of the best movies ever. Horror movie, and Event Horizon. But but those aren't really Halloween-y ones. Those are just horror movies. So books, though, I recently read Haunting a Hill House, the original one, and I expected a lot more. And I was rather disappointed in it. I thought it was. I think it's pretty well overhyped. So that's not.
It's overrated.
Top. I also recently read Salem's Lot, which I thought the horror parts were very well done, but like with all Stephen King books, the creeper weirdo parts were very creeper weirdo. There's something not right in that man's head. So some of it was, I don't know, it was very 70s like sentiment towards women and stuff. It was just kind of weird. But yeah, it was Salem's Lot was good. I've read a lot of horror, so it actually is pretty hard for me to narrow it down. Do you guys have a favorite?
I have one that's kind of related to this. So Bill O'Reilly, he has a series of books called the Killing series, killing Lincoln, killing Kennedy. He had his most recent one was called Killing the Witches, and it talks about witchcraft and about the witch trials. And I thought that was actually really fascinating, and it just shows how the madness of crowds can really cause some pretty bad stuff happening. So I didn't really know much about how that happened, why it happened. I just knew that there was this period in time when people thought, oh, everyone's a witch, and people were accusing them, and they were, hanging them and all that kind of stuff. So that was actually a pretty good history book on that.
I would, of course, recommend the three great novels from the end of the 19th century in Britain, where you had the Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, you have Dracula by Bram Stoker, and what's the other one? There's another great one in there. But the book that I want to recommend that's a little less well known, it's from 1934, and it was written by Dennis Wheatley, who was more of a suspense thriller writer. He wrote a book called The Devil Rides Out. And in it, the hero, the Duke of Richelieu, he's British, he is English. A friend of his is lured into a satanic cult. And he and his associates from the war years they get together to get him out. And there was a movie version made of it in 1974 in Britain by Hammer Films, starring Christopher Lee as the Duke. And it's a really good movie, but the book is even better because the movie didn't have the budget to do what the book can do, which is there's a lot of action in the final scenes of it that are really fantastic. But this is it's a very serious book. Wheatley was very politically conservative, and so he wasn't much liked by the critics. And he considered communism and National Socialism to be literally demonically inspired. So this book, as you see, it arrives about 5 years before the beginning of World War II. But he's exploring some of those thoughts. So it's well worth reading. It's called The Devil Rides Out by Dennis Wheatley.
Well, I would definitely recommend, it's a little bit of a slower one, like many of the kind of older horror was, but I would strongly recommend The Omega Man or I Am Legend, which is a vampire apocalypse story, which is good. They made a movie.
Is that Richard Matheson?
They made a couple movies of that. Yes, it is Richard Matheson. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
And then I am a big Lovecraft fan, so but there are some that are better than others by far. Many of the ones that are most famous, like Call of Cthulhu, I think are kind of overrated. Just didn't find them scary, didn't find them all that interesting even. However, Reanimator is great. and Shadow over Innsmouth is great. And the other one I really enjoy is Color Out of Space, which is deeply creepy. And they actually made a movie with Nicolas Cage based on that recently, which is also worth a watch because it's just so weird.
Oh, the third great late 19th century horror novel is, of course, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. All those three are absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
What's your favorite Halloween candy?
Oh, wait, hold on. I got literally.
Jim wants his book.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay, your apology accepted. So no, just as we're going with the classics, I mean, it brought to mind Edgar Allan Poe. I mean, I remember being a schoolboy having to read, The Telltale Heart and The Raven and
Cask of
The Tomb of
Amontillado.
Ligeia.
the Pit and the Pendulum, and I was, as I was remembering those, you guys were talking about literary horror. I'm like, I remember what I was feeling as a boy reading those, and it was, again, unsettling. And that was written in the mid 19th century, and it still holds up today. So I guess especially if you have kids and you want to scare them to sleep, you can read some of those stories. They don't take long to get through.
Yeah, and I would say that Poe, Telltale Heart and Cask of Amontillado and stuff is not going to traumatize your children, probably. It's just good atmospheric horror.
The Fall of the House of Usher is a terrific Poe story as well. And those were made into, several of those were made into pretty darn good Roger Corman movies in the 1960s, starring people like Vincent Price and Basil Rathbone, Peter Lorre. They're very fun movies. And Chris?
Oh, I already said my movies, my TV shows, and my book.
Right. But now it's the Halloween candy. But the most important question, and where I'm going to pitch this to the audience as well, candy corn, yes or no? And if the answer is no, you're out.
I am a big fan of candy corn, actually.
We are candy corn. We are pro candy corn on this program.
I know some people hate it, but I just like it. I don't know why. I just liked it since I was a kid.
Yeah, and what's the best chocolate bar, and why is it Almond Joy?
Oh,
I'm going Twix.
I'm with you on Almond Joy. Oh my gosh, nobody likes that. My wife hates it. She won't get it. I have to go get it myself. I love it. Oh well. The thing about Halloween candy is you get things that you never normally get, right? Like, hell, I even like the Mary Janes. I'm sure people of a certain age remember those. And Bit of Honey, those are like disgusting, but there's something about Halloween that makes them okay.
I love the classics, so I love the Snickers bar.
Yeah, John Z says there's a pizzeria in Pelham, New York that was on Fox this morning, and they made a candy corn topping pizza.
I saw it.
That might be too far.
It actually looked pretty good.
It reminds me of like Elf with the candy on top of the spaghetti.
Right.
All right, you guys, that is the music, which means it is time for us to go. Thanks, everyone, for your attention to these matters. We are live every week on Thursdays at noon Central on Rumble, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook. Jim, what have you got for the audience today?
We got to show up right here, the same channel at the same time, but on Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern time for the Climate Realism Show. I'm not going to give away what we're talking about. I'm going to make you guys come and experience it live, but it's going to be a very, very good show.
All right, Chris, how about you?
Heartland.org. We got some awesome opinion content up there and some new stuff, so go check it out.
Sam?
I agree with the Heartland.org and also St. Karnick at substack.com.
For audio listeners, please rate us well on whatever service you're using and leave a review. Thank you so much to all of our usual panelists and everyone who came to join us for this Halloween special episode. We will see you all again next week.